The security logs showed nothing. No forced entry, no alarms triggered, not even a flicker in the surveillance feed. Yet, John Miller was gone. One moment, he was in his study, a room locked from the inside. The next, the room was empty. The window was latched, the heavy oak door bolted, and the only key lay on the mahogany desk, right where he always left it. It was like he'd simply ceased to exist, fading from a perfectly sealed space. The house, an old Victorian with more locks than necessary, offered no explanation. His coffee, still warm in its mug, steam curling upwards, was the only sign he'd been there moments before. The only sign that something real had happened. Detective Harding arrived, his face a mask of practiced calm, though his eyes held a hint of something unreadable. He was known for his sharp mind, the kind of person who could spot a lie in a whisper or a hidden detail in plain sight. He walked through the house, his steps measured, methodical. Each room was a silent witness to a life interrupted. When he reached the study, he paused at the threshold, taking in the scene. The untouched order, the undisturbed dust motes dancing in the morning light, all screamed impossibility. He checked the window, running a gloved hand along the frame. Solid. He examined the door, testing the lock. Secure. It was a perfect puzzle with no missing pieces, yet the main subject was gone. Then he saw it. A small, folded piece of paper on the desk, tucked under a heavy paperweight. It wasn't a suicide note, not a plea for help. The detective read it aloud, his voice low, almost a murmur. The threads unravel, but the pattern remains. He read it again, then tucked it into an evidence bag. No signature, no context, just those 7 words. It wasn't a confession, nor a cry for attention. It was a riddle, a whisper from the void. I stood there, watching him, a strange quiet settling over me. Most people would react with shock, with fear, maybe even a touch of panic. But for me it was different. It was a familiar chill, a recognition of something that defies all logic, all reason, a quiet acceptance of the inexplicable. Sometimes the universe enjoys a good riddle. Detective Harding stood in the middle of the room, his shoulders slumped, just slightly. He ran a hand over his tired face. "This," he said, shaking his head, his voice filled with an unusual strain. "This is unlike anything I've ever seen. Every rule broken, every possibility exhausted, and still, nothing." He looked around the empty room, then back at the cryptic note in the bag. The vast unknown stretched out before us, a gaping maw of questions. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us where you're watching from in the comments. This wasn't the first time someone had simply disappeared. If you look back through history, you find these stories popping up again and again, like scattered breadcrumbs leading to nowhere. Think about the ancient world, records from old civilizations, etched in stone or written on fragile scrolls, tell of people vanishing. A farmer walking in his field, a priest in his temple, a soldier on guard duty. Gone. No struggle, no body, just an empty space where a person used to be. These aren't just local legends, they're found across cultures, centuries apart, often with strangely similar details. A clear day, an ordinary moment, then nothing. It's like the universe has a habit of plucking people out of their lives without explanation. Take the case of Amelia Earhart, for example. We know her as an adventurous pilot, someone who pushed boundaries. But before she became a legend for her disappearance, she was just Amelia, a woman with a passion for flying, a regular person with her own routines, her own circle of friends and family. She lived a life, she had plans, just like John Miller. And then one day, she was gone. No wreckage found, no distress signal, just a vast, empty ocean swallowing up a plane and its occupants. It's the same story, really, just with modern technology involved. It makes you wonder about all the countless others, the ones not famous enough to make headlines, who also just vanished. They were ordinary people, living ordinary lives, in ordinary towns, with families who loved them. The sheer ordinariness of their lives makes their sudden, inexplicable absence even more jarring. And it's not always a silent, clean disappearance. Many of these events have strange things happening right before. Historical accounts, often dismissed as superstition, talk about peculiar lights in the sky, odd weather patterns that appear and vanish quickly, or even brief power outages that affect only a small, specific area. Imagine a quiet village in the 1800s. A family is sitting down for dinner, a typical evening. Suddenly, the oil lamps flicker, the air feels heavy, and then a strange, soft light pulses outside the window for a few seconds before everything goes back to normal. The next morning, a neighbor is missing. These aren't isolated incidents. Modern reports, too, describe similar precursor events. People report seeing unusual atmospheric phenomena, strange electrical disturbances, or even momentary distortions in their vision or hearing, right before someone they know vanishes. These aren't theories, they are observations, often made by multiple witnesses, that seem to precede these impossible events. The impact on the people left behind is devastating, and it's a specific kind of pain. It's not like grieving a death where there's a funeral, a body, a sense of finality. This is an open wound that never truly heals. Families are left with an empty chair at the dinner table, a room full of untouched belongings, and a mind full of unanswered questions. The lack of closure eats away at them. They spend years, sometimes decades, searching, hoping, endlessly replaying the last moments they saw their loved one. The sheer impossibility of the event makes it worse. How do you explain to a child that their parent just vanished? How do you accept something that defies every law of nature? This slow erosion of trust in what we understand, in the very fabric of reality, leaves deep emotional scars, not just on individuals, but on entire communities. The silence left behind by the vanished is deafening. Does the idea of someone just vanishing into thin air intrigue you? This brings us to a turning point, a new way of looking at these old mysteries. Recent discoveries, often buried in scientific journals or overlooked historical records, have started to connect some of these seemingly unrelated cases. Imagine finding a pattern in a set of fingerprints that were thought to belong to different people, only to realize they all came from the same hand. That's what's happening now. A few years ago, a team of independent researchers, working with old astronomical data and geological surveys, noticed something odd. They found that many of these disappearances, across centuries and continents, correlated with specific, measurable fluctuations in the Earth's magnetic field, combined with rare atmospheric pressure anomalies. Not just any fluctuations, but very precise, short-lived spikes that occurred in localized areas. This wasn't some wild theory, it was based on hard data. They cross-referenced historical weather reports, ship logs, and even ancient texts describing strange sky events. When these two conditions, magnetic spikes and atmospheric pressure drops, aligned, the probability of a disappearance in that exact location rose dramatically. It's like a specific set of environmental conditions creates a temporary, localized portal, or perhaps a thinning of the veil between our reality and something else. This isn't about aliens or magic, but about physics we don't fully understand yet. It suggests that our world, which seems so solid and predictable, might have weak spots, momentary tears where the usual rules don't apply. This new understanding doesn't give us all the answers, but it changes everything. It tells us that these people didn't just vanish randomly. They might have been caught in a rare, natural phenomenon. It challenges our basic perception of reality, hinting at a universe far more complex and fluid than we've ever imagined. Are there parallel dimensions brushing against our own? Are there unknown natural forces at play that we're only just beginning to detect? This revelation provides a framework, a starting point for scientific investigation rather than just resigned acceptance. It means we might one day be able to predict or even understand these events, moving them from the realm of the impossible to the merely unexplained. The human outcome of this isn't a neat, tied-up ending. We still don't know where these people went, or if they can ever return. There's no sudden reunion, no magical reappearance. But there is a shift from pure bewilderment to a sense of profound awe and persistent curiosity. It acknowledges the vastness of the unknown, the sheer scale of what we don't yet comprehend about our own planet and the cosmos. It reminds us that our science, our understanding, is still in its infancy. The human drive to understand, to push the boundaries of knowledge, remains strong even in the face of such overwhelming mystery. These disappearances, once just tragic enigmas, now serve as a powerful reminder of how much more there is to discover, and how fragile our grasp on reality can sometimes be. Some doors are meant to remain closed, but the universe keeps knocking. If this deep dive surprised you, like the video, subscribe, and tell us in the comments what mystery you want to see explored next. And for more mind-bending tales, check out our video on 10 ancient artifacts that defy explanation right here.